Hi everybody, I'm Rachael Rankin, junior high and high school principal, and today I'm here to read chapter 14 of Charlie Bumpers versus the Teacher of the Year. Chapter 14, Dad Gets Serious, or It's Not Funny. That afternoon, Mom picked us up at school. She met me at the front door and the squid showed up from her classroom a few seconds later. "Charlie and Mabel, wait for me here," she said. "I have to check with Miss Finch about something." My mom helps with the PTA sometimes, and she's friends with Mrs. Finch, the school secretary. "Okay," I said. I was relieved because I wanted to talk to the squid alone for a minute. As soon as Mom went into the office, I got started. "Hey, Mabel," I said. The squid looked at me suspiciously. I never called her Mabel. "What do you want?" You know that little thing with the toilet paper on the playground? I'd be really happy if you'd promise not to tell Mom or Dad or Matt about it. She broke into a smile. "But it was so funny." "I know, but I'll get in trouble. I'll have to explain it and they won't understand." "I don't understand it either," she said. "That's what I mean. Just don't tell them, okay?" "What if they ask?" "Just don't say anything." "But it would be lying if I knew something and didn't say it." "Okay," I said. "If they ask, you can say something. But if they don't ask, promise you won't say anything." "Okay." "Promise?" "I promise." "Okay," I said. "Unless they ask." "Mabel, they won't ask." "Then I promise." Just then, Mom came out of the office. The squid and I walked out of school and got into our car. We were very quiet. Too quiet. "What's going on?" Mom asked. "Nothing," I said. I looked at my sister. Her mouth was shut tight. Too tight. I knew if Mom asked one more question, my sister might blurt out the whole story. I gave the squid a warning look. She clapped her hand over her mouth. But Mom was already thinking about something else. She does that a lot. And right then, I was glad. The squid's hand stayed over her mouth the whole way to our house. For once, she kept her lips buttoned. She disappeared into her room as soon as we got home. I guess she didn't trust her mouth to stay shut. I was having a snack and Mom was starting dinner when Carla's mother dropped her off at our house. As soon as the two girls came into the kitchen, Carla shouted, "Charlie, that toilet paper mess was so funny." I looked up from my snack. The squid had her hand over her mouth again. "It was so funny," Carla said again. "Did you have to sit on the orange chair?" The orange chair is where you sit when you've done something bad and you're waiting to see Mrs. Rotelli. Mom glared at me. I looked up at the ceiling. "Where'd you get all that toilet paper?" Carla asked. I glanced over at Squid. "I didn't say," she shouted. "I didn't say." "Didn't say what?" Mom asked. "I didn't say about Charlie spreading toilet paper all over the playground. And I didn't say about everybody laughing. And I didn't say about Mrs. Burke being really mad." "Mabel!" I yelled. "She asked!" the squid squealed. "She asked! And if you told me she asked, I could tell, so I didn't break my promise." Mom didn't ask me what happened, but I knew I might as well get it over with. I told her the main parts of the story, and when she finished, she shook her head and went back to her dinner preparations. She was slamming things around, so I knew she was mad. I went up to my bedroom and tried to read a book, but I kept reading the same sentence over and over again. A little while later, Matt came home. "What's with Mom?" he asked, sticking his head into my room. "She's mad at me." I put the book over my face. "How come?" "Because of toilet paper," I said. "What toilet paper?" I told him. He started to laugh. "Ha ha ha, it's not funny," I said. "Oh, yes it is," he said. "It's hilarious. I wish I could have seen it. Mrs. Burke must have killed you." "Yeah, she did," I said. "Right now you're talking to the ghost of Charlie Bumpers. I might as well be dead." That's when Dad came into the room. I could tell he was tired. He was probably tired of Mr. Grimaldi, like I was tired of Mrs. Burke. Matt, why don't you head to your room, Dad said. Can't I stay? He said. Nope, Dad said, rubbing his eyes, which he always does when he's trying to think what to do. He looked over at me. I don't know if I want to hear the whole story. I do, said Matt. Out, Matt, Dad said. But Dad just pointed a finger towards the door. My brother walked out into the hall, but I figured he was probably standing right outside of the door, listening. It was just some dumb toilet paper, Dad. I tried to explain it in a way that it would make it seem better than what it was. Dad sat on the bed right beside me, his arms resting on his knees and his head propped in his hands. Then he turned his face to me. Charlie, I don't want to hear about anything else happening at school with you and Mrs. Burke. I don't care if it was an accident. I don't care if it was your fault or someone else's. You've got to straighten up. If I were Mrs. Burke, I'd be mad too. I know, Dad, but I didn't mean for all of that to happen. It doesn't matter, Charlie. You haven't been thinking. I hate when my dad gets really serious like that. You've got to use better judgment, he went on. No one's getting you in trouble. You're doing it all yourself. You promised me you'd try and get along with Mrs. Burke, and using your head is part of getting along and staying out of trouble. While he was talking, I looked down at the floor, then up at the ceiling. My dad would never have spread toilet paper around his office and gotten Mr. Grimaldi all upset. I didn't know what to say. I've always had these great ideas I think will make things better, but things keep going wrong. I don't want to have to talk to you about this again. Do you understand me? I nodded, but kept my head down. I felt rotten. Look at me, he said. You've got to straighten up. Pay attention to what you're doing and don't do any more dumb things, okay? Okay, I said. He didn't say it, but I was pretty sure he thought his youngest son was a bozo.